Normally, I go to a city that's an ICLEI city, ask that question, and no hand goes up. The beginning of the process is understanding where the attack is coming from. That many hands being shown on ICLEI shows that we're making progress in the state of Washington. See, local government's elected officials combined with unelected regional councils, with state and federal agencies, and global NGOs. This has been accomplished in the city of Tacoma through the program called Sustainable Tacoma. The Sustainable Tacoma Commission smacks of ICLEI direction. Today, the ICLEI banner relates to global warming. Global warming is close to dead in D.C. When Puget Sound residents catch on to the climate fraud, you can expect ICLEI to change its globalist focus from global warming to biodiversity matters, just as Norm predicted. Then land use, the use of private property, will be under increased, massive attack. This is the time to cleanse your community of ICLEI. How many people know of the BIA in Tacoma? This is another public-private partnership. This one focuses on the transportation element of smart growth policy. At the bottom of this web page, it says that the BIA is connected locally and regionally. Always watch for that word, regionally, promoting a focus on the movement and interactions of people rather than cars. Now you can take from that comment that they have a policy against cars, and that's why you see this light rail sitting on the streets of Tacoma. The city of San Jose had a massive light rail program, and as it was under operation for 8 years or so, the continuing cost of a rider was $11.50 a person. The average ride cost was about $2. So there was a subsidy of $9.50 for every rider on light rail. Today, most of the San Jose light rail system is shut down. But the point is, that's not all good news. The point is that the infrastructure for the post-private property era has been or is being developed everywhere. It may make no economic sense today, but in the era of post-private property, when you can no longer gas your car or operate your car, well, then the system makes supposed economic sense at that point in time, and that's why it's being built today. Now, the BIA assault, it's hard to say this, but is led by the local Chamber of Commerce. Did you know that the American Chamber of Commerce is a UN accredited NGO? And that UN accreditation means that it is accredited for purposes of implementing sustainability policy. Now, some chambers are effective at this. For instance, all the chambers in Santa Cruz County are very effective, and some chambers are not. It looks to me as the chamber in Tacoma is fully committed to globalist policy implementation. You can't not look at the local situation without examining the educational situation. Education for Environment and Sustainability is put out by the State of Washington Office of Superintendent of Public Instruction. So this isn't coming from some crazy NGO. This is coming from your state government. In the middle of this webpage, it says that, quote, environmental education is a mandatory area of study in Washington. Now, California has gone a step further. It requires that every class in every grade have a focus on the environment and sustainability. You can see down here the bottom paragraph. It says the Sustainable Design Project. And I can tell you that your school system throughout the state of Washington is fully committed to the education for environment and sustainability. You can see the 3E circles combined on this page as an illustration of what I talked about earlier. You see, the youth are being prepped for global citizenship, and the effort is working. In polling, we learned last year that a majority of 2009 high school and college grads, those that graduated last year, identify themselves as global citizens, not as Americans. Sustainability is being jammed down every youngster's throat. The American future is at risk. Tacoma Community College has a greening of Tacoma, the college, and uses sustainability guides for innovation at TTC. This page is about the Green Building Program. What the Green Building Program is about is simply, especially when it's exercised through government agencies like community colleges, is designed to be just some increment to helping implode the U.S. dollar. These costs are totally uncalled for. They're excessive. They're for the benefit of the public-private partners. It's kind of like the bailout. How the buddies get the money at the expense of Main Street is through programs like the Green Building Program, something to which Tacoma Community College has begun implementing, as they brag on this webpage, for having built one of the first fully green buildings in this area. So you see, the sustainable order is everywhere. This Tacoma program is a typical program of the centralized control that is working, spending our dollar into oblivion. And this, and its sustainability program, has now become the standard training for young people. Any place I've ever gone, this is one of my favorite studies. How many are familiar with Vision 2040 and the Puget Sound Regional Council? This is an organization that more people need to become familiar with. The Puget Sound Regional Council is regionalism gone wild. Regionalism is designed to destroy political boundaries, and thus regionalism destroys the American Republic. Regionalism is a system of governance used in communist and fascist political systems. The following listing incorporates those elected officials who gave their support to Vision 2040. These regionalists in office need to be replaced. Funding for this report, we're talking about 2040 now generally, in part by member jurisdictions, grants from the U.S. Department of Transportation, Federal Transit Administration, Federal Highway Administration, and Washington State Department of Transportation. All I say is, no wonder the federal government is bankrupt. But it's intended to be, because you see, Vision 2040 is about visioning world government. Now, Vision 2040 calls for the growth management, environmental, economic, and transportation strategy for the central Puget Sound region. I never read any governmental book, state or federal, that focused on the constitutional role of regional government. Regionalism practiced by Vision 24 has birthed and administered the growth management policies and the environmental, economic, and transportation strategy for the entire Puget Sound area. There is no more prototypical Agenda 21 Soviet Council in all of America than the Puget Sound Regional Council. But the truly scary part is that organizations like the Puget Sound Regional Council exist all over the place. Here's a resolution of the Puget Sound Regional Council adopting Vision 2040. This regional policymaking makes it easy for globalist forces to attack and squeeze the principles of private property, because all the tough rules come out of these regional councils. They're presented to the city councils or the county boards of supervisors on the basis that we have consensus. All these little phony facilitation meetings result in their reports that then get rubber stamped by our elected officials and made into law. The problem is the elected officials aren't doing their job. Landowners around the Sound need to understand what 2040 does what the Puget Sound Regional Authority is doing, how your elected officials are just silly putty in their hands. And further, the resolution adopting the Vision 2040 plan. Regionalism in action now. One more PowerPoint on the Puget Sound Regional Council. We can see here highlighted, without reading it all, the environment, economy, and equity, the 3 E's we talked about earlier, are the cornerstones that motivate and propagandize all the work that the Puget Sound Regional Council does. You know, I conclude this by thinking the nanny state now has some muscles.